Hey, good evening again. I just want to welcome you guys back to another episode of the Conversation 9-8. And I'm so excited again to be back. Just want to say, Merry Christmas Eve, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays to you, and I hope all is well. I hope all is going well with you and your family. I hope you guys are enjoying this nice weather that we having up here, up in northern New York. Dealing with a lot, some lake effect snow. So we got had a lot come down, a lot coming again. But again, man, I'm just so excited to be back before again and just have this conversation. I'm very happy to be back. Was able to go back to the great state of Alabama last week and spent some time back home. And I would tell you that was much needed and very much appreciated. Just having the time just to be back home and love on some people, see some people I haven't seen, spend some time with some people, cook for some folks. Love to cook for some people and just spend time, break bread, and have fun. A lot of times, one thing I realize: the older I get, the more I realize how much important it is to spend time with loved ones. And I'm just very appreciative of that opportunity. I want to say happy birthday to all those who having birthdays. I want to give an early birthday shout out to my heavenly birthday shout out to my grandmother, Ms. Joseph. Love you so much, miss you a lot, grandmama. You mean a lot to me, and just want to just tell you I love you, love you. You mean a lot. So we're gonna get right into it. Looking forward to the topic tonight. Looking forward to the discussions. Make sure you let me know where you're tuning in from, where you're watching from, and we're gonna get right on in this conversation tonight. But I would tell you again, I'm just because it means a lot. Um, just been able to come back on. We're episode 119, 119 episodes. I would just tell you that is I'm happy that we still going with it and going strong with it, and it's just been fun to be able to keep this thing going. But we're gonna go ahead on and get started. Gonna go get started. Talk about uncovering the truths behind having genuine compassion for others. And one of the things with that is it's a very powerful place to understand the truth behind having compassion with others, because one of the big misconceptions that I think a lot of people have is if you say you are a lot of people feels that they I think they interpret compassion with agreement or things always being favorable to you based off of what is given to you or what has been provided to you. And in a lot of spaces, that's not true. There's some truth behind having genuine compassion for others. And being genuinely compassionate or showing genuine compassion for others is not just a black and white thing. It's a lot of layers behind it. And in those layers, what you'll find is you have to be true to yourself in order to genuinely show compassion to others. And that is something that I think that what I wanted to discuss about and talk about, because and shout out to my son Robert. I was talking to him yesterday, and he's the one behind the idea of talking about this topic tonight. And I'm so glad that he did. Why? Because there's so much that can go into this. We can take this topic from so many different ways, so many different angles. It can be applied to so many different roles that we play in our lives, and it can be applied to the relationships that we have with different people in our lives. And that's one thing I really want to get into, because when we start talking about, when we start talking about compassion, one of the things that people may come in is, you think about the root word of that is passion, and they're thinking about, you're being considerate or caring for others, right? But in a lot of ways, when you think about it, just because I care about you doesn't mean that I'm going to do things that's going to make you feel good all the time, or just because or I'm going to do things to make you. I'm going to always package it up to make sure that it is easy for you to receive. Some things, having compassion for somebody is holding somebody accountable for the things that they should be doing, because in of yourself, they have more in them than what they are actually giving. So the key thing to that is sometimes we assume compassion is that we're going to get a pass or somebody's going to make it easy for us. And that's not the case. That's not the case. And my mom said it right here. She said, having compassion is not having pity. And that is so true. Why is that so true? Because, you know, many people confuse having compassion for somebody with having sympathy or pity or empathy for somebody else. You know, I can have compassion for you and I can express compassion towards you in my action, but still hold you accountable for what you need to do. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people feel like, well, if you're being compassionate or being considerate of somebody, you should think about this. Yes, I am thinking about that, but I don't have to package it in the way that you want it to feel. You know, a lot of times, like I said, accountability can feel like an attack when you're not ready for the growth or you're not ready for what it brings, right? But because my parents had compassion on me, I know people that had compassion for me, leaders, teachers, coaches, that had compassion on me, right? But they also held me accountable for what I need to do, because guess what? I was willing to stay in my comfort zone, but they forced me to get out of my comfort zone and grow. You know why? Because so many times we want people to just have it easy on us, because that's just what it is. My mom said, having compassion doesn't mean I agree with you, and it doesn't mean I am going to sign off on what you are doing. That is true. And I'm gonna hit on the hot topic that's very some people can say it's controversial, but I don't think it's controversial. I think it's just simply a conversation. And I think that when we start talking about a lot of different things, with this, right? One thing is this: we do not have to see eye to eye and be in agreement for me to express or show compassion towards you. That's not what compassion means. And I think a lot of people feel like compassion always has to be an agreement. No, I can show compassion, I can show love, I can show grace and still be in disagreement with you. Facts. That's just what it is. And I can still be helpful towards you. I can still do all those things for you. I can still show you some things. But just because I show compassion for you don't mean we got to agree. And so many people feel that way. They feel like, well, if you're not in agreement with me, then they'll consider you not being compassionate or sensitive to the things that they may to their position or their opinion or their ideology. And that's not the case. I can be compassionate and disagree and still show you grace and still show you support, but I disagree. That's just what it is. I just simply disagree. And I think so many times we get into this thing, right? And we set all of these unrealistic rules or these unwritten rules for other people that we expect other people to abide by that don't make any sense. It just don't. It don't. My mom said this. She said, just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I don't have compassion or love for you. And I'm glad you said that, Mom, because that is true. And I made that statement before, but I would tell you, many people suffer from that. You know, many people suffer from expecting other people to always, they always look for somebody to agree with them, as if agreeing with their position, as if that means that they support them or they love them. And that's not the case. That is so far from the case. I would tell you, and when you look at life, you're not going to always agree on everything. You're not going to always agree with your spouse, your parents, your siblings, your leaders. You're not going to always be in agreement, but you still can be compassionate. You still can be supportive. You still can show grace in those moments. You still can do that. So don't get in your head to feel like, well, just because they don't agree with me, then they don't mean they don't have compassion towards me. No, but just because I have compassion towards you don't mean that I won't hold you accountable. And a lot of people get that confused because they feel like their accountability is an attack when it's still showing compassion. Yeah, Mama said agreeing with a position doesn't mean compassion. Facts. And I like that. I like that you brought that up too, Mama, because that is true. Because I can agree with you. Just because I'm in agreement with you doesn't mean that I'm showing you compassion. and just looking at it and being realistic. And I'm just about to, as we right here right now we're talking, I'm going to just look up the word compassion just so we can break the meaning of that word down, right? And we look at the word compassion, right? And the word compassion means sympathetic pity or concern for the sufferings or misfortune of others, right? Right? Sympathetic pity or concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others, right? So, and I can be sympathetic towards your suffering or concern towards the suffering that you have, right? And the misfortunes of what you're going through. And I can acknowledge those, but I still can hold you accountable, right? For you being working towards being in a better situation than what you're probably in, or making better decisions to that may have led you to be in that situation that caused me to express compassion or being sympathetic. I can acknowledge that. I can be sympathetic towards how you grew up and the plight or the things that you had to overcome and things that you had to deal with in your life. I can be sympathetic towards that. But I also can say, hey, look, you have to make better decisions going forward based off of your life choices right now so that you can be in a better place. And a lot of times we feel like that is somebody not being compassionate, but they are being compassionate. They're showing pity. They're showing sympathetic pity and concern, because my concern is for you not to stay where you at. My concern is for you to be in a better place. And I want people to really, really understand that, right? Because we can get into this space, right? Because many times we can get into a place in our lives where we feel like what we know what's best for ourselves based off of our choices and our experience at that moment. And at that moment, nobody else can tell us to disagree. And I'm not arguing with you on that. But what I am speaking towards is this, right? There are going to be some times where other people have experiences that we don't have, and they may be trying to help you not go down the road that they went down, and they may be telling you something and showing compassion towards you and being sympathetic towards your situation, and maybe giving you jewels or giving you something you may not want to hear, because in your mind you feel like this was best for you, but they're looking out for your best interest. And you may feel like they're not being as compassionate or sympathetic towards you because what they're telling you to do don't align with what you want to do. And you feel like that they're attacking you or not being sensitive, but they are. They are being sensitive. They're trying to tell you, say, hey, look, because I'm compassionate for you, right? Because I'm exhibiting concern for you, I am trying to assist you and provide you some lessons learned from my perspective, that you don't have to make the same mistakes or go down the same road that I had to go down. And that is something that so many times we can look at it and not see, right? Because we may not want to hear it, right? Because, one thing about it is this: just because you don't want to hear something, just because you don't agree with something, just because you want to do something or you don't want to do what somebody else is trying to give you, and I'm speaking towards those people that are there for your best interest, not there to use you, don't have any motives, but they're coming to you based off of their past experiences, based off of their past mistakes, and trying to offer you those experiences, right? To tell you those things or to give you pointers so you don't make the same mistakes they're offering. Don't take it like they aren't sensitive towards the things or your reality. Don't take it like they're not sensitive towards your reality, because they are sensitive towards your reality. We got to get out of our feelings and start to look at it and be like, you know what? Are they really trying to tell me something for my best interest? Because sometimes, guess what? You don't always have to go through something the hard way to learn the lesson from it. You can learn from others. And I choose to learn from other people. Man, I would rather learn from somebody else than spend years trying to learn the same lesson where I could have just listened to somebody that I knew had my best interest. And I'm not talking about people that are there just to use you and don't have your best interest. I'm talking about those people that got your best interest, but you fighting against them. Why? Because in your mind, you got to figure it out, but you still trying to figure it out. I'm not talking about you listening to people that just don't know. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those people that has walked the walk that you're walking, that has been down the road that you've been down, and they're offering you something, right, so that it can benefit you in the long run. You know, but the reality is this, right? I wish myself, I wish so much that I would have listened to some people from some things, right? Because this is a reality, right? This is a reality. That's why I said uncovering the truths behind having genuine compassion for others. Those truths behind having genuine compassion for others is that sometimes that compassion has to come with candor. That compassion has to come with candor. Why? Because you got to be candid. You got to tell people the truth. You can't just sugarcoat everything. Sometimes people need to hear the truth about their reality and where they're at. Because guess what? You're just painting and trying to make it look good. No, hey, where you going? That's not smart. And you don't have to belittle somebody for a decision or a choice they make. You don't have to agree with it, but you can still go to them to talk about being accountable for the decisions or the choices that was made up to that moment so that they won't have to go back and relive it. Don't go down and suppress it and push it under. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But what I am speaking on is you can tell them, hey, look, what you did was wrong. That wasn't a good decision. But guess what? You don't have to dwell on that. You can make this decision. Or how did you look at that? Or have you considered looking at it from this point of view? That's what I'm speaking on. And that's having genuine compassion for others. See, having genuine compassion for others is not allowing them to go down the path of self-destruction without giving them warning. Because the reality is some people gonna do what they do, boo. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna do what they do. So you just gonna have to let them go down. But that doesn't mean that you can't provide them with a sense of warning. You can't provide them with this, say, hey, look, that ain't a good decision what you're doing. Right? And then also having compassion for others is this too. The other side, some of the truth, right? The truth behind having compassion is when somebody don't take your heed to that warning and they make a decision, you have to let them walk in that consequence. You got to let them walk in that consequence. Because I would tell you, there's a lot of parents out there right now that your kids continue to go down the same cycle because you still trying to come in and be Jesus. You still try to come in and be God and save choices. And they ain't even listening to you. And you feel like, oh, I just love my baby. No, you're crippling them. Because the truth behind compassion is sometimes you got to let them ride that road. You got to let them feel it. You got to let them. Especially if they're not taking heed to your warning or heed to the things in which you are trying to tell them for what's best for them. And don't be coming in here, you know what I'm saying? Because also too, right? Also too, this is a thing, right? Stop sitting around trying to act like you feel like it's you because you're a parent and you're passionate towards your kids. No, you're being a crutch. You're becoming a handicap for them because you're always stepping in and you're never allowing them to experience the full consequences of their choices. And what's going to end up happening is you're always going to be the one having to the consequences of their choices. And then you in turn will get mad when they grow up and never take full responsibility for their actions. You did that. You can't blame nobody else. You the one that did that. Because why? Oh, that's my baby. Oh, I just want what's best for them. No, you're crippling them. And if you're really having true compassion for them, you will make sure that they understand the weight and the gravity of being responsible and taking ownership for the choice they make. That's them. You can blame it on everybody else, but then the other side to that too is other people will have to deal with the consequences of your choices. Your children's spouse or baby that they connect with and have kids with gonna have to deal with the fact that you failed as a parent. But then you'll come in and guess what? You'll come in and try to blame the other person, but what they have to deal with is the mess that you created. And we create that as parents under the guise that we're looking out for them, but we really not. We handicapping them. Mama said parents must learn to allow your children to fail while you are here to help them. That's true compassion. Yes, that's it. And that's what I'm saying about the truths, uncovering the truths behind having genuine compassion, right? Having genuine compassion doesn't always mean that I'm going to step in and I'm going to help you. Having genuine compassion doesn't always mean that I'm going to make a phone call to make it easy for you. Having genuine compassion doesn't always mean that I'm going to step in and take away the discomfort of the situation. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am talking about is sometimes you got to let people walk through the storm in which they created. And you can stand there with them and be there with them, because some people will not be willing to listen unless they go through that valley, unless they go through that storm, because their ears have become so hardened and they can't hear anything. So they got to go through that storm before they even open to listen. And you just be there with them. When they open, then you can just be there to say, hey, I'm here for you. I'm here with you. Right? And that's a hard thing to do, especially with those people that we love, especially with our family members, especially with our kids and our spouses. Those things have become very hard to do. Why? Because we want what's best for them. We don't want to see them go through those things, right? And we feel like it is our responsibility to take on that for them, and it's not our responsibility. It's not our responsibility at all, at all. It's our responsibility to lead, to guide, and to counsel, right? Advise. And I'll tell you, the role of an advisor can be very frustrating, especially when you are advising and you're giving a point of view or perspective from a place that, you know, from experience, like you done been down there, you know what this is going to happen. Sometimes you just have to advise and let them walk it. You know, I can, and I would tell you the grace, there's some grace, right? That is a powerful thing, right, to understand. There's true grace. You will find grace, you will have to exhibit or show some grace when you're walking in compassion. And I can remember my father, and I can remember the grace he exhibited me with showing compassion towards me when I thought I knew it all for years upon years, when he was preparing me to walk in the mantle of fatherhood, or preparing to walk in the mantle, to carry the mantle of being the patriarch of the family. And there's a lot of things I didn't agree with, but he never came in and he never stepped in and took those hard lessons that I had to learn away from me. He allowed me to walk into it until the point where I came to myself and I realized everything he was doing was preparing me. So I had to give him a call. And that's when I understood in that moment the grace that he exhibited me for me to grow into my own person. And I thank him for that. I'm so grateful for that. Now, I didn't understand that at the time. At the time, I thought he was controlling. At the time, I thought he was just trying to be in my business. At the time, I thought he was trying to do too goddamn much. But what he was doing was preparing me, and he was allowing me to make my own choices. He never come in and say, hey, you will do this, you will do that. He was allowing me to make my own choices. He provided me things and perspective to look at, but I made my own choices. And what that did was that allowed me to be in a space to where I was comfortable with making my own choices. So I was comfortable with walking in those, walking in the consequences from the decisions that I made. I never looked to my mom and my dad to come in and correct decisions that I made, choices that I made. I didn't go to them and look to them to correct those, because just how I was raised. I was raised to basically, you know, and just have that mindset, right? And all I'm saying, uncovering those truths behind genuine compassion for others. When we're talking about it, and this is to somebody that you've been struggling with this with your kids, right? Listen, the Bible says this, right? You've been struggling with your kids. You've been struggling with this thing. You've been wrestling with this thing. And I just wanted to tell you this, right? The Bible says, train up a child in a way that they should go, not will go. You have done your best. You have put your best foot forward. And I'm not saying your best was always correct, but in all of your effort, you gave everything that you could give in that moment, right? And they are of age to the point to where they're outside of the house, they're of age, they are grown, right? You got to wipe your hands with it. And you can love them, you can be in an advisor role, but stop trying to make yourself feel responsible for the choices that they make. And don't let your kids try to guilt trip you for them having to deal with consequences from the decisions that they make. If you played a role in hurting them, acknowledge it, take ownership of it, address it with them, but you're not responsible for their choices. They are responsible for it. Stop making yourself feel responsible for that. I don't know who that is for, but stop making yourself feel responsible for your grown kids' choices. If you wasn't there, you made a mistake, go and deal with it. Go address it. Go and deal with it. But then don't, and this is to the other, if you are the child that have an issue with your parent, I would tell you it is time that you to start deal with it. Listen, some parents would never acknowledge what they did to you. And I know that can be very hard. That can be very hard because it caused a lot of deep hurt and pain that's inside. And it caused a void that's there. But I want to tell you this. If you're conditioning your healing based off of them accepting it or not, it may come from them, it may not. But you can control what decision that you make to say, you know what, from this point forward, I'm going to start to heal and deal with me so that I can move on with my life. So I'm not carrying this weight with me for the rest of my life. And that's all I wanted to encourage somebody who may be going through this, who may be dealing with that right now. Because I understand this. You know, as we get into as we're talking about Christmas and the holiday season, I know this may be rough for some people, right? But some people may be dealing with some stuff or dealing with some issues that they haven't even had a chance to resolve prior to a parent passing, or they may be dealing with some things, dealing with the parent and the child relationship. You know, you're a child, you're upset with your parent because they wasn't there for you, or they didn't put forth the effort, and they have been inconsistent in your life for your entire life and not being there, always giving excuse, always coming up with this and that, right? I understand that hurt and I acknowledge that hurt. And I'm not in any way, shape, form, or fashion trying to suggest to you to just ignore that and act like that it didn't happen. No, what I am saying is acknowledge them for who they are and for what they did, and realize that some people may or may not ever change. But it is okay. Why? Because you don't have to sit there and stay at that place hoping that they are going to come and conditioning your healing based off of their action. Because your healing is based off of your decision to choose to say, you know what? I'm not going to give this power over me to continue to have power over me. I'm going to make that the decision to forgive them so that I can heal and I can move on. And I don't have to carry that burden with me for the rest of my life. And I know that's easier said than done, but I want to encourage you and empower you that it only starts with making a choice. And it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's a process. And just say, you know what? I'm going to make that decision today. And don't sit there and condition it on what if this and happen. No, just say, you know what? I'm going to make that decision today. And guess what? I'm gonna pray to God. I'm gonna ask God for strength, and Lord, help me through this process. And I would tell you, if you're genuine about it, God will send stuff your way almost on a daily basis. Send a song, send a video, send something your way to help you on that journey to heal. And I would tell you, that would be one of the most freeing experience that you will ever experience in your life, and you will find the true meaning of an abundant life once you let that go. Why? Because the enemy has been using that for your entire life to keep you down and to make you feel like you're not worthy of the relationships that you seek. You're not worthy of the places that you're destined to go. And he wants to make you feel like you're not worthy. I come to tell you that you are worthy. You are. You can do it. You can heal. You can forgive. You can overcome it. Right? You can do it. How do I know? Because I was that person that I felt like, dang, I can't get over this. I felt like that it was just insurmountable, and not able to overcome it, right? But I want to tell you, I made a decision to say, you know what? I don't want my past to impact my future. So I'm making a decision in my present so that my future can be better than my right now. And I would tell you that was one of the most freeing experiences or decisions that I've made in my life, because I had to let go to let God. I had to forego to forgive. I had to release to receive. And when I did that, God healed my heart. He did. He did. That is no lie. That is no lie right there. That is something that I stay true to. And I would tell you from that experience, has been a lot of the fuel behind even this podcast, talking about healing on this podcast, because of the experience that I had. And that was in 2007 and 8 when I was going through this. And my healing, watch this, my healing of my situation that I had to forgive and walk in forgiveness and go on that journey. It's a good 3 years. I would say from 2007 to like 2010 to get to a space to where that process was complete. So I'm not sitting here and trying to save you a wolf ticket, right? But what I am telling you is that, nobody can tell me that God is not a keeper. Nobody can tell me that God can't restore relationships. Nobody can't tell me about how God can heal your heart from the wounds. I'm talking about those deep emotional wounds. He can heal those. Because I would tell you, this is the thing with that, right? Because what God did for me, and I'm speaking for me and me alone, right? What God did for me in that situation is he showed me, he gave me the eyes to see the heart of the other person. And what I was able to see was the other person was hurting and their action wasn't done deliberately. It was done from a place of pain. And a lot of things that happen to us are a lot of things that happen to us are done out of place of pain. A lot of things that happen to us that hurt us by other people are done from a place of pain or hurt from those other people. And a lot of things, and it's hard for us to realize that, but that's why we say hurting people hurt people, because they do it from a place of hurt and they're trying to figure things out and they're not rationally thinking. And they're not, so they're making decisions, and then those decisions, right, it end up making choices that hurt other people. But they're trying to make a choice to make themselves feel better, but it end up hurting other people. So we go around a space to where hurting people hurt people, and then now I'm hurt. Now I attach myself, and that cycle continues. And it's a hard thing to get to a space to be like, hey, I'm ready to break it, because you don't know where the root cause is. But that's why it's so important to get to a space to say, hey, you know what, regardless of it all, it starts with me, and I'm going to choose to break the cycle and forgive. And it is possible. So I want to thank you guys so much for rocking with your boy tonight on the Conversation 9-8. Hey, go check me out. Go like my page on here, the Conversation 9-8 on Facebook. I'm on YouTube, the Conversation 9-8 channel. Also on LinkedIn, under my Robert Shepard. You can go and like and follow me on there, as well as TikTok. I'm on TikTok, the Conversation _98, and on Instagram, the Conversation 9-8. So thank you guys so much. Really enjoyed the topic tonight. Really enjoyed the conversation tonight. I pray you guys have a blessed and happy holidays and a Merry Christmas to you. And I get ready. I'm excited because I get to go shove about 4 feet of snow tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to it. And hey, shout out to the Birmingham Barons of the Negro Leagues. Just wanted to show them some love, down in the great state of Alabama. So you guys have a great and wonderful week. God bless. Good night.